Welcome back to my channel. How are you guys today? What are you up to? What are you doing? Okay, I won't do that anymore. If you've never been here before, welcome. My name is Denise. If you have been here before, welcome back. Thank you for coming back. I am doing a little bit of a sit-down video today. I just thought that sometimes when I start these, I really can't start them. Anyway, so today I was gonna just sit down and share a story with you guys. You have heard me mention a couple times, or at least you have if you've watched some of my other videos, you've heard me mention a heart attack. And I wanted to just sit down today and tell you about it. Tell you about my experience. I did have a heart attack, and it was unexpected. And so I just thought that it would be nice to give you guys, that story and just kind of tell you my experience with it. Now, I have spent the better part of my adult life not feeling very well. And look, we all have problems. We all have our share of maybe health problems, physical, mental. Some of us have our share of them, and I have had my share. So that is a story for another day. But since I reference the heart attack every now and again, when Old Bean and I are driving around or making jokes or whatever, I just thought that maybe it would be nice to kind of share that, part of my story with you, tell you about it, tell you about my experience and what it was like. And again, because it was kind of out of the blue, I just, I don't really expect for this to help anybody or, teach you something. It's not really anything like that. But if nothing else, maybe it can kind of show you how you shouldn't, ignore your body. Okay, so if you watched my birthday video where I unboxed the birthday present to myself, then you know that I am 45 years old. I turned 45 earlier this month. And if you didn't watch it, I'll link it down below so that you can take a look. But yeah, so I am 45 years old, and the heart attack happened, this is July, 10 months ago. It happened 10 months ago, so I was 44 at the time. So this is the story of my heart attack, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, that's awkward. Anyway, okay, so it was a weeknight, and my husband and I were at home. It was maybe like somewhere between 8 and 8:30 p.m. And we were just hanging out, having a conversation, and I was standing in the kitchen. I'm gonna give you super specific details. So I was standing in the kitchen, he was sitting on the couch. We were just talking, and all of a sudden I felt like this pain right here in my chest. Kind of what it felt like was when you have a piece of food that maybe is too large, or that you haven't chewed all the way and it's like larger than it should be for you to swallow, and you can feel it kind of going down. That is exactly what it felt like, right in like the center of my chest, kind of up high, like not in my throat, but not further down. It was kind of like right here in the middle. And so I felt that, and I said, something feels weird. And as soon as I said, something feels weird, as soon as those words came out of my mouth, I immediately got shooting pains. They were kind of sharp and achy at the same time, and shooting straight up into both ears on both sides. And then maybe like 15 seconds after I felt that shooting up into my ears, I felt pretty much the same type of pain. It was kind of shooting, but also an aching pain into both armpits. So I say to him, something feels weird. And then instantly those pains. And so then I say to him, I'm like, I'm having pain like into my ears. And I was like, and now my armpits are feeling weird. And so I was just like, something's not right. So I, was like, and trying to swallow, and I was rubbing my neck, like rubbing my ears, and my husband is on the couch immediately with his phone, typing these things in that I'm saying, and he says to me, "You're having a heart attack." And I, chose a few expressive terms, and I was like, "Don't be dumb, I'm not having a heart attack," but something doesn't feel right. And immediately he was like, "Grab your shoes and get in the car." So I didn't think it was a heart attack. I just was like, something's really weird. And then it was becoming more intense. So I would say from the time the symptoms started to when I said that to him Googling and telling me to get in the car was probably less than 5 minutes, maybe somewhere around 3 minutes. And I was not trying to be, I was not trying to ignore it or pretend like it wasn't happening, or I wasn't thinking to myself, "Oh, this really isn't that bad." It truly felt bad. And so I grabbed my shoes and jumped into the car. Now we live probably about 5 miles or so from the closest hospital. So we made the decision to just go there my husband just decided that he could get me to the ER faster than trying to get an ambulance out to our house. So we got in the car, and on that ride there, the symptoms were becoming even more painful. They were more intense. And at this point I was kind of hunched over, in the vehicle. And I was just like, I just kept saying, I really don't feel good. I really don't feel good. So we pulled up to the ER. My husband stopped. We both jumped out of the vehicle, and I went straight in. Kudos to my tiny little hospital, in the town that I live in. They were super efficient, super fast, super nice. It was, luckily for me, my experience was a good one, because at this particular time, on this particular day, the ER was not crowded. There was not really anyone in there. So I went straight in, and my dog's at the door. I went straight in, and I pretty much had not ever let go of my chest right here. And I said, "Something is wrong in my chest." I didn't sign in. I didn't sit down. I remember saying that to one of the nurses that was kind of standing there. And then there was another person sitting down at the desk. And I kind of was just looking at both of them. And I was like, something's wrong in my chest. So they took me straight into a room and immediately started, asking the questions and listening to my symptoms and story as they were, getting my blood pressure, putting these on my chest to hook me up to the monitor to get my blood pressure, my heart rate, my respiratory rate, my oxygen saturations. They were kind of just doing all of that at the same time. And then, listening to what I felt like and, how it had progressed and stuff like that. So my husband went and, parked the vehicle, and then he came, back into the ER with me. And the doctor, the ER physician as well, had come into the room in the midst of them taking down my symptoms. And so, I kind of filled him in, and immediately he said, "It's either your heart. I think it's either your heart or a pulmonary embolism." So a pulmonary embolism, if you don't already know, is a blood clot that lands in your lungs. And then they're pretty serious. They can kill you. So they're obviously, neither one of those is a good situation. So they put leads on, more leads on me, and ran an EKG. And the physician said, I don't like the way your heart looks, but it's not truly indicative of anything as of yet. So they took some blood work, and and then said, we're going to do a CAT scan and check your lungs and make sure there's not a clot in your lungs in the meantime. So they took the blood work. They were running some lab tests on it. They took me to the CT scan. They did that again very quickly, brought me back to the room, and then ran another EKG strip on my heart. And I think they could see that it was an irregular rhythm, an irregular waveform that I was having. Oh my gosh. Okay, listen, I'm a baby nurse. I don't know. The heart is not my thing. I don't deal with the heart all that much. We do have cardiac issues in the NICU, but they're different. We do have cardiac issues in the NICU, but it is not my forte. So they could tell that my heart rhythm wasn't, again, quite right, but it wasn't truly showing a heart attack at this point. So then they decided to do the 3 round, and during this whole time, I hadn't had any pain medicines. So I was pretty uncomfortable this whole time. And they just kept asking me how I was feeling. They decided at this point to start the nitroglycerin, is that what it's called, that you do in 3 doses. I should have looked that up. I don't even know. They decided to do the nitroglycerin 3 doses and see how I responded to that. So I was doing those 3 doses. I think they're spaced apart by 15 minutes, if I remember correctly. And in the meantime, the results of the CAT scan came back, and he said, your lungs are fine. There is not a blood clot there, so I don't think it's, a pulmonary embolism. I think it's your heart. So as lab tests came back and everything, he was explaining to me that in the early signs and situations of a heart attack, you don't quite see it in the blood work as of yet. So also during this time, he had already called down to the main hospital, which is, when I say down, I'm talking down into the next town, where at the bottom of the mountain, basically. So, and he said, I talked to that hospital there. They agree that, you should just come down and they're going to consult the cardiologist. We think it's your heart. And so, and I was just still at this point, I wasn't thinking heart attack. I was thinking, I don't know, just an irregular heartbeat, an irregular, I don't know, something irregular, but I wasn't thinking heart attack. So, he was like, we're going to get the ambulance ready. They're going to call and consult the cardiologist. And we're basically just going to package you up and send you down and not keep you here any longer than we need to. So all of this, I would say within less than an hour that they had done all of these things, maybe an hour and a half is my best guess at it. Pretty efficiently and pretty quickly, which again was extremely, which again was, I'm very thankful for. I feel very lucky that was my experience. So they loaded me into the ambulance, and my husband, followed down to the hospital, and they had me hooked up to an EKG machine in the ambulance, and they had given me pain medicine by now, so I was feeling more comfortable, and I was talking to the paramedic, the whole time on the way down, and I was trying to rest. She was trying to tell me to rest, but she kept running EKG strips on my heart, and so I kept asking her, what does it look like? What is it showing? Explain it to me, because I'm not good at EKG strips. And she was saying that I guess there's a certain point where it will show a heart attack and, something's inverted, whatever. I should have looked this up before I sat down to make this video. But basically, from the time we left my town to the time it took to get to the next hospital, which was approximately somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes. My EKG strips were indicating that I was having a full-blown heart attack with an inverted something or other. So when they unloaded me from the ER, or when they unloaded me from the ambulance into the ER at the next hospital, I was having a heart attack. So they wheeled me into that ER, and this is where things kind of started to like go in and out for me. And I think that was mostly because of the pain medicine. I just remember there being a lot of people. I remember the ER doctor introducing himself to my husband. They wheeled me into a room, and I had people, changing out my like IV fluids. I had people changing out the leads, like from the machine that I was on in the ambulance to the machines that were there in the hospital in the ER. And they were, again, kind of like going through my symptoms and the story of the evening, and how they had already talked to the other physician. We were just kind of basically catching everything up to speed with everyone that was there. And again, it was, I guess, what you can call a great experience for having a heart attack. But, and there just was a lot of commotion. So I do remember the one point where this kind of turned real for me was when they ran a strip. And at this point, like, I don't know how long I had already been there. I don't remember how many EKG strips they had run on my heart. Like, I don't remember the specifics of that, but I do remember being awake, and they ran a strip on my heart, and I saw the ER doctor, looking at the machine as it was reading, and I saw him turn and whisper to, like, I guess a nurse or, a tech or somebody else that was in the room. And the next thing I know, they are grabbing the defibrillator, which is, like the AED machine, the machine where you like put the pads on someone's and it'll do the shock for you, like CPR, basically, the CPR machine. So they grabbed that machine, they sat it in the bed, like down at my feet, and they were putting the pads onto my chest. And I remember looking at the girl and saying, "If you are about to shock me, can you please get my husband out of the room?" And that was all I could think of, was, if this is going to be really bad, if you're going to need to shock my heart, I don't want my husband to see it. So luckily they did not have to shock me. So that is great. But that was the moment that it was kind of real for me, where it was kind of just like, oh, okay, this is like probably not very good. And all I could think of was like my husband, and how I didn't want him to have to like see that or remember that. So I don't remember what they did with him, where they took him. I'm not really sure. But then at the same time as they were doing that, the physician, I think, was maybe trying to distract me a little bit. And he was saying, okay, so the cardiologist is on his way. We are prepping the cardiac cath room, and we are going to do a cardiac cath on your heart and see what we can find. So again, I don't know how much time passed. I was kind of in and out. I remember kind of like waking up in the cardiac cath room, and the cardiologist was there, and he was, talking to me, and the nurses were in there, and he was telling me what they were going to do. And a lot of it is just fuzzy. So I remember waking up after the cardiac cath, and I remember the cardiologist telling me that he had found a blood clot. And then it was fuzzy again. So the next thing I really remember is being like back in a room, and my husband being there, and the cardiologist saying that he had found a blood clot, and he believed that was the reason for the heart attack. He said that it was in a small vessel on the left side of my heart, and it was completely blocking the vessel, causing the heart attack and damage to a portion of the left side of my heart. So he explained at that time that the vessel was too small to be opened. There was a risk of damaging the vessel if he tried to like put a stent in there and open it to allow the blood clot to exit. So he was just kind of saying that it was going to be medication. It was going to be a heart attack that had to be dealt with medication. So again, some kind of fuzziness here and there. And at this point, they admitted me to the cardiac ICU. And that is where I spent the next 3 days on medication, IV medication to dissolve the blood clot and wait for the vessel to open back up, get a good blood supply to my heart, and have the heart attack stop. So it was, and kind of still through the whole thing, like when it's happening, I'm not really having like a this is happening, this isn't happening moment, except for that one that I just described. I kind of was just going through the motions of everything. And at this point, it was still so painful that I kind of wasn't really thinking about or focusing on anything. So they would give me pain medication. The pain medication would wear off, and I would immediately feel all the symptoms, like the pain in my chest, the pain shooting up to my ears, and the pain in my armpits. Extremely uncomfortable. And then they would give me more pain medicine to make me comfortable, and then I would sleep. So it was pretty much almost 3 days of that pattern. So eventually the heart attack stopped. Eventually the medication worked and the heart attack stopped. And, they were checking my blood work, running, lab tests this whole entire time. And I guess when your heart has an injury to it, it will put out these certain enzymes. And then, they can kind of track that in your blood and kind of see if the heart attack is still kind of occurring and damage is still occurring, and then that will kind of hit a plateau, and then that level will start coming down. So they were monitoring that and kind of keeping me updated on that and just doing their best to keep me comfortable through the whole thing. So that, my friends, is the story and the experience of my heart attack and how it occurred and what I felt. So you fast forward to the end of those 3 days, and I was starting to feel better as the heart attack was stopping and my heart was starting to recover a little bit. And so then they kind of moved into the next step, which is basically, like education in terms of why did you have a heart attack? What can you do about it? Cardiac rehab. And this is where it gets both frustrating and confusing at the same time, because I carry a few extra pounds, okay? But I'm not morbidly obese. I'm not even obese. I don't smoke. I never have. I don't drink. I have a very strict diet. I exercise, a moderate amount, not super extreme, but I do exercise, and I have my entire life on and off throughout my entire adult life. So the fact that I had a heart attack was annoying, to say the least. Annoying, that's what it was. It was just flat out annoying. So in my personal situation, I do not have high cholesterol, I do not have high blood pressure, I do not have clogged arteries. After they did the cardiac cath, they told me that my heart looked great. I just happened to have a blood clot that they believe originated somewhere else in my body, broke free, and landed in my heart, causing the heart attack. So if you've not ever been through this before, when they talk about rehab for your heart, they want you to come, and they have these classes and lessons and exercises that basically teach you how to be healthy. That teaches you, it's like support for how to quit smoking, and it's support for changing your diet, and it's teaching you how to do exercise, and then starting out slow and then increasing that. And these were all things that honestly didn't pertain to me. And I'm not saying that I can't learn something. You can always learn something, but it was just super frustrating because, number one, they couldn't tell me why I had a blood clot, or they couldn't really say that they had concerns that something else was going on that would cause a blood clot to form. And all of the treatments, education from that point forward didn't necessarily apply to me. So it was, again, nothing but super annoying. It was just annoying. So here I am today, 10 months later. I am taking medication. I take medication to ultimately thin my blood so that I am not forming another blood clot. The cardiologist doesn't know how long he wants to keep me on that. And I don't really have any answers, and I don't know where we go from here. At follow-up appointments, my cardiologist has said, well, some people were just more inclined to make blood clots, and you probably will form another one. You probably will form another one. Thanks. That's great. Thanks. And so you just carry on. You just go. You just do whatever you want to do in life, because there are not always answers. So when you hear me mention things like starting acupuncture and jokes about the heart attack, that is what I am referencing. I basically have decided to start acupuncture to try to just explore another avenue of making myself feel better and making myself as healthy as possible. And at this point, it's laughable. It's laughable as to how it could even happen, why it happened. Look, I don't know. And, I can't really prevent it from happening again. There's not really a whole lot that I can do other than take the medicine and do my best to, do things like acupuncture to go on from this point. So, all right, that was quite a long story. I hope you enjoyed the sit down, but yeah, I just thought that I would kind of share this little piece of my life with you, just so that you could know me a little bit better and understand why I make jokes. But if you guys have any stories of your own, or any tips or any suggestions, I'm open to hearing any of that. So that's enough rambling for today. That's enough of my story. So I hope you guys have a good day. I thank you for joining me and listening to this whole spiel. And I hope you have a good day. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.